We're on the YouTubes. Go live. Going live. You're live. I don't know how to not start off a live stream without saying, you're live. I'm going live.
No, Dave, you're live.
We're live collectively over the air, over the internet. Is it actually like wires under the ocean right now? Or is it just going between Cleveland and Chicago? How does it work? I really don't know how the internet even works. It's like
we leave that to the video experts at
Mux. When I was like 10 years ago, I was like pretty adamant that I was going to start my own ISP. So I was like, isn't the internet like anybody can just connect to it? So what's holding me back from just like putting up some wires and getting all my friends on our own internet? Sounds like it might be a little more complicated than that, but I don't know.
Dave, as your coworker, I am thrilled that you didn't, because I get to work with you every day.
See, there's pros and cons to everything in life. How are you? Happy Friday.
Yeah.
It's been a week. We have a lot of fun stuff that we did this week. You stayed up to midnight coding.
Yeah, but that was self-inflicted. I'm like, what if we just added one more feature to this launch? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that was a pretty big feature, wasn't it?
It was a big one.
And my spouse is out of town, so she couldn't tell me to go to bed.
Right when you said that, your dog came into focus right over your shoulder. It's like, oh, right in town. Well, look, we got some good stuff launched. We have a new developer friendly plan called the Starter Plan on Mux, $10 a month for $100 of usage. That's pretty sweet. Did a lot of work on the docs this week. It was a good week. I think we got a lot out this week. And what better way to end it and wrap it up with, I don't know, doing something we have no idea what we're doing.
I'm so excited for this.
Which is let's build something today with we've built things before. We know how to do that, but we haven't done it with Remix. At least I haven't. Have you ever? I know nothing about Remix. I sat in on a workshop one time at a conference like 2 years ago, and admittedly was probably like only half paying attention. So there was a lot of code on the screen. It looked like it worked. And I know a lot of people are super jazzed about Remix. So I don't know. Figure we should see what all the hype is about. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, like, we're a Next.js shop here at Mux. We're super familiar, super comfortable with it. Checks all the boxes for us. We can do stuff on the server, do stuff on the client, just like render our website and optimize wherever we need to. But like, I don't know, 10 years ago, Next.js wasn't the bee's knees. So 10 years from now, it's web development. Stuff changes. It's kind of good to keep an eye on what's coming up. Could be Remix if Twitter is to be believed.
That's right. Twitter is pretty hype about Remix. Do you know why? Like, what is the main selling point that? And maybe we could just look at like the Remix site or something. Like, what?
Let's have a thrilling segment here where two people who don't know what they're talking about sell you a product.
Yeah, perfect.
No, I mean, like, what I see online about Remix is that it like really focuses on using the platform. So, I mean, this is something that I like about Svelte. I use Svelte for my hobby projects. It's just like it uses web standards like form data and stuff. And what else have I seen about Remix before I actually scroll through the site? Yeah. Well, I guess let's find out why it's good. We've got the marketing site pulled up here. Focused on web standards and modern web app UX. You're simply going to build better websites. So yeah, I mean, there's the standard thing that I was talking about, like using the platform. Modern web app UX. I mean, I guess we'll see what that means. And then I love that they just open with a code sample. I mean, anybody who does this is like, just like really knows that they're developer experience friendly. So let's see what we got here.
What are they
a loader.
Loader seems like maybe what? It's a conventional export of some kind.
So, I mean, one thing that Next.js used to do back in the pages router days before server components came along is you'd have these like get server side props or like stuff like that, so you can get data on the server and then pass it to the client. So it kind of feels like loader might be that. Like here we've got the request coming in, we return some projects, and then you can use those projects here. I'm guessing this gets passed to the client. And then what's action? If I had to guess based off of like Next.js and Svelte and stuff, I'd guess that, oh yeah, this is how we respond to the form. So this is kind of like they're just in one example showing us two-way data communication. This is how we send stuff to the client. And then this is how the client sends stuff to us for like mutations. That's pretty cool. And then looks like we can listen to the form state here.
Yeah, that one's kind of
Busy.
interesting. I was looking at that state, like what's going on in the client here, and use navigation is pooling state. That's kind of, I'm kind of confused, or I guess we'll be interested to see where that's coming from or what that means, what that convention of use navigation means for state
Yeah,
management.
what kind of hooks they offer. And then here's something that I think I'm seeing here. Like, correct me. I mean, we don't know this yet, but I think like here we create a project. I'm guessing what Remix is doing for us under the hood is that once we mutate projects, then it'll like run this loader again. So it'll keep this list of projects up to date. I'm just guessing. I don't know that. That's one thing that I really like with server actions in Next.js. When you send a form using server actions, you can revalidate your path and just kind of like refresh the data and send it to the server and, you know, streams in. So this is just like you can manage state on the client or you can manage state on the server. And here, I guess the server is where the state lives. I don't know. This is just what I'm seeing from this code example.
Yeah, totally.
This is so I I can pretend I've never seen this site before, but I remember when this launched, I was super into it. Not that I was really reading the content, but I really love this way of like presenting information as somebody who like worries about marketing sites all the time. Just like a really big kind of like scrolly telling experience. I've always been really impressed with this, and now I'm actually gonna have to read it.
Yeah, and then we have like those. I love the testimonials too. That where you see like the devs that are using it right on the homepage that are just like, look, we're not shy about this being a pretty awesome experience, and here's some social proof that folks actually like this. The holy poop emoji remix is good. Hard to beat that testimonial on your homepage.
And like it's really good that they're touting developer experience. I want to see what kind of claims they make about user experience as well. Because you can have the best developer experience in the world, but if it's slow to load for your user, then it's slow to load for your user, you know?
So this will be
Distributed web
interesting.
infrastructure.
I think from like what we mentioned, you're going to see the perspective in this stream of folks that have spent a lot of time in Next.js and what that translates to in Remix. But then also just like, I guess the perspective of folks, the two of us that work with video all the time and video uploads in Next.js. I feel like we could probably churn that out pretty quickly. To see how that translates into video upload and video playback into Remix will be, I don't know, pretty interesting. Hopefully we can get everything wired up and working here in the next hour or so.
Yeah, when we were talking about this, we realized that video uploads really, like, they really test a stack. Like, you've got server-side like data fetching because you've got to do some authenticated stuff with in our case with Mux, stuff that you can't do on the client. You've got to send that data to the client. The client uploads a video. It's got to send data back to the server, maybe like a video name and video description. There's just a lot of client and server communication, some routing because you've got multiple pages. I think that it's going to be a really good way to test out a framework. And actually, while we're talking about it, what I wanted to show you is probably what we're building today. This is the Next.js application. This is an open source project that we have here at Mux called Stream.new. We're not building something as full featured as Stream.new, but we're probably going to build something like this. We're going to give you the option to upload a video. You guys get an intimate look at my downloads folder now.
Careful.
Here's a video, 300 megabytes. That's a bit a lot. And then you can tell this is still on the homepage. We'll get that. So we sent the video, it's uploading, and then what it'll do eventually, I shouldn't have picked such a big video, is reroute to like a player page where we can watch it. We'll come back to that in a sec. So that's roughly what we're going to build. Hopefully like an easy website, but I mean, who knows with a new framework. Nested routes. While that uploads, I want to see what else Remix has to offer. It seems like they're super big on nested routes. Like this is something that Next.js with its app directory and Svelte with new versions of SvelteKit really leaned into, that you can have these like layouts that hold pages that hold pages that hold pages. And it feels like semantic boundary of data loading and code splitting. So it feels like what they're trying to sell here is that like if you really follow this layouts convention, you'll fetch data for this layout, then you'll fetch data for this layout. Like your data fetching is like often tightly coupled to your layouts. It feels like that's the big pet they're making. I
There's
don't
a
know if
lot
we're
of
gonna play.
scrolling going on right in that section, so it seems like you're right. Like there's a lot of focus here on this being maybe a prime feature.
Nested routes Remix can eliminate nearly every loading state. Request waterfalls. Yeah, I know what they're talking about here. One thing that really happens on traditional client side React is that, you fetch your document, then you fetch your component, the component fetches data, then that fetches some other components, and those components fetch data, and that fetches some other components, and those components fetch data, and you get this really long waterfall. And I think what Remix is trying to sell here is that because Remix already knows like your whole layout and knows what nested components you're fetching, it can fetch that data in parallel and just send it all at once. Interesting.
Now, is this like maybe a little bit more prominent of a selling point before server components, but I wonder how this comes into play here with the application that we're thinking about building. One thing that we'll be able to do with the video upload process is bring in a web component. Hopefully that will just kind of work in Remix and not throw spinners everywhere like that. I don't know.
I mean, it's still React though, so I don't think we'll be able to use raw web components. React does not yet support web components very nicely, so we'll have to use, I think, probably like a wrapper around our web components.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna scroll through kind of quickly here. Prefetch everything. So yeah, it feels like this is. I remember Next.js and Gatsby doing this too. Oh, I like this. So with Gatsby and Next.js, you have to use like the link component. Here, it's just using the platform. Oh, use the platform.
Use the platform. All right. Well, what do you say we I don't know, jump in and get started here, see what we can come up with.
For sure. Let's talk about forums. Man, I just want to scroll through this whole thing. But that's gonna be a boring stream. Let's hop in.
It's quite the page. There's a lot
Yeah.
to show off there. But yeah, I wonder if in the docs we'll be able to kind of get the same perspective, but from the building approach.
Oh, by the way, preparing video. Yeah, so this is what we're building. You upload a video, it prepares, and then we see the video. And there's some rerouting and everything. So let's see what we can do in Remix. Let's hop in.
It's a great choice for a video demo too. The macaroons and dumping water everywhere. Or was that like
video.
a nice pleasing
so much
cranberry juice of some kind?
Yeah. This is in all likelihood the greatest thing that Mux has ever done.
It's up there. It's up. I don't want to
pretty good product too.
We've got a great, many great people and teammates. This is definitely up there.
Yeah. All right. I'll give you that. Why don't we just get started with a quick start? I think we're gonna need to like scaffold out a project. It looks like batteries included. Yeah, I think I'd like a scaffolded project that kind of.
So we're just starting completely fresh here. Nothing
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can do this together. Can we?
Keep it on my desktop.
Let's stay optimistic. We need a cheerleader. Maybe we can bring in somebody else to just come in and like talk nicely to us. You guys got this.
There you go. So is this like either or? So I just do this or I do all these steps?
Yeah, that could be.
Oh, yeah, let's see how far this gets me. Yeah, let's track this in Git. NPM's fine. Really been into PNPM lately.
I feel like there's 5 of those that are released every day. I'm not really sure which one. Which one
what's cool? What are the kids using?
I have no idea. Okay, installing dependencies. So this has to be replacing that other like more manual method that looks like the installation is describing below.
Yeah. We open that up in VS Code. Yes, I trust the authors. Cool. So we have a Remix project. I'm going to keep that over here and keep our docs over here. What do we have here? We've got some configs. Looks like this is TypeScript stuff. I guess places where we can our app. So app directory, that's interesting, just like Next.js. Assets build directory. So I guess this is output stuff, more output stuff.
But we have it. There is an app directory there. Interesting. I wonder why that's commented
Yeah.
out then.
Yeah, maybe this
Maybe
is
if
just
you
like the
change
default, and
it.
if you wanted to change it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Public files. And then we've got a README. Nah, who needs instructions? What do we have here? Root and entry, client entry, server entry, and root. So root, this looks like this is just like our scaffolding out the HTML document.
Yeah, probably like what
Mhm.
layouts from coming from Nextland. This is just kind of
Yeah.
going.
So this is like the root layout that you might use in the app directory. And then it tells where to insert meta tags, where to insert, I guess, like maybe preload links. Oh, this is weird. So if you want to include a style, all right, I don't know what's going on here. This is interesting. We'll have to read more about how styles work later. And then outlet, scroll restoration, scripts, and live reload. That's a lot. Probably have to understand how all those work.
How do you feel about like I almost at least for me personally, when you're doing something like this create blank app
Mhm.
approach, that it might be interesting to have like just some inline comments here that help you as somebody clearly starting off brand new. Um,
Yeah.
or
I
like we
mean,
can
like
pass a flag that's just like, could you include comments here too, so we have an idea of like what we're looking at?
different people learn differently. Like there's one type of person that'll just like sit down, read the docs cover to cover. There's another type of person who will like watch YouTube videos all morning. Um, One thing that I really like to do is just like download an example project and just start tinkering, like turning knobs and seeing what happens. Just kind of like really diving into the deep end and seeing how long I can swim, which I guess is what we're doing today. If there were comments, that would be a great way to learn. We should take note of that because we create examples occasionally.
That's
I'm
right.
like
Wait, there we
scared of
go. We
these.
got a little bit.
By
Sweet.
default,
There we go. What's that
Remix will
saying?
handle generating HTTP response for you. Um, Interesting. Okay, so on the one hand, I don't like that this is kind of overwhelming, and like the thought that I might have to like write this myself is a lot. But on the other hand, I feel like if I ever wanted like an escape route, or if I had an idea of like, yeah, if I needed to change something really deep in the like the machine of Remix, I feel like I could change it here. So I guess it's nice to know that this exists, but I also, wow, this
Yeah,
is also a lot.
I can't like I guess I can't tell whether or not that's to be it's like a requirement when you see a server file like that from a default that I mean one of the things that it looked like it was checking is like is the visitor a bot?
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw that a lot.
the fact that
Mhm.
that's coming in as a default is interesting to demonstrate that, you know, it's possible, like you're saying, but I wonder if it'd be more effective as somebody like just starting out, like, maybe we should only show what we really need to do here. Or again, like if there's a different flavor of this where complete beginner, we only see what we need to see.
Yeah. I feel like this is a much tighter example of what you just talked about. Like in Next.js, I know that at some point it's running React DOM hydrate root, but nowhere in a Next.js project will you actually see the code hydrate root. So this is all happening under the hood. Meanwhile, Remix just like puts it out there, which is overwhelming to beginners, but also maybe good for intermediates and experts who need a place to really figure stuff out.
All right. Well, what we got to do here is we'll probably also have to throw in our Mux uploader
Mhm.
package. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
let's just start by installing that. We're in React. I'm gonna install Mux Uploader React, and then we got to find a place to put it. And then let's just, I mean, actually, cool. So there's a dev command in the package.json. It makes a dev manual. That's nice. Let's just see what's going on here. Docs, tutorials, just some links. Okay, so routes index. Cool. And I
looks like a
guess if we wanted to
page.
put in a Mux uploader, that right? There's a Mux uploader. Links. Welcome to.
All right. So it's
Oh, this is nice. Go on.
Oh, we get some exported metadata there. Okay.
Yeah. So you and I were looking at like this meta injection here in the layout, and here it's just like this is just like the metadata convention from the app router. I wonder, like, I would love to really learn how Remix works and like look at the timeline of how much Remix inspired the app directory of Next.js. I love that things are in conversation and competition and how they're helping each other grow. Like I've seen headlines that Remix is hopping on server components and everything. So it's just really cool to see Next.js and Remix challenging each other like that.
Yeah, I don't know the timing of like what conventions were established when, I guess, but this does
very
similar, very familiar. Yep.
So now we need some server code, right? So like you can upload a video, but the first question that this component needs to know is, where am I uploading the video? And to answer that question, we're going to say, hey, upload the video to Mux, right?
Yeah, we're going to, the whole flow here, at least for Mux Uploader, ends up looking kind of like a handshake process, right? So we need to understand, first of all, authenticate with a Mux account, where this video is going to be stored. We're going to need, an access token from Mux in place for that.
I've got one of those here.
Perfecto. And then the whole overview of this flow ends up looking like when you come and either visit this page or once, depending on how this form ends up looking, if we just leave it for this as this drop zone example, we could probably generate the endpoint, the upload endpoint, right on the page load. So we're going to get a signed upload URL, and we'll have to create that using the Mux node SDK.
Yeah,
that'll
I'm
make
guessing
a request to Mux to get that URL.
I'm guessing we'll be able to run that in loader like this, just based
That's
off
what
this
it looks
example.
like to me too. Yeah,
for sure.
But are we only supposed to return data from loader? Is loader? Yeah, it must be like you should do all of your fetching right within loader itself.
I'm gonna pause my screen sharing here for a sec so I can get my environment variables set up, so I don't have to generate some new keys. Not using anything super important, but let's see. Yeah, thank you. Dedicated viewers of the show will know that I'm doing this from experience.
You've been with us since the beginning.
Rename. Cool. So we have a .env file. All right, let's do this. I think I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna paste this in and then return hi. And here, const data equals use loader data. And thank goodness for VS Code giving me between loader data and route loader data. So route maybe is like the layout. The example is loader data. So we're just gonna start there. And then just go ahead and put that data in. Oh yeah. Also gotta run dev. There we go. Nice. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use Mux. So const Mux equals new Mux node. This will create a new client. I guess I could just call this client. We're going to use that client to video.uploads.create, right?
That's the one. Wondering really, I don't know if we really need to be passing any config here too much. We could probably accept.
Yeah, I mean, like just as an example, we'll just say all course origins right now, but like eventually you're going to want your app here. And then I don't know, maybe encoding tier baseline. So we have this concept of encoding tiers at Mux, and they kind of determine the quality of your video versus like the pricing that you experience. With baseline encoding, this is good for like where you're uploading loads of video. Ingest is actually upload is going to be free with Mux, but in exchange you've got slightly degraded quality versus our main encoding tier, which is smart. Is that a good description?
Yes. The thing that I was looking at here is there's a new asset settings subproperty that goes right next to core's origin. That's where I think
That's where this
that's
goes.
where that gets dropped in.
Oh yeah, and there we go. And TypeScript stops complaining. And the last thing I need in here is actually, instead of reading the Mux docs, I might just hop in right into the TypeScript definitions. I love doing this. Core's origins, new asset settings, and whether it's a test asset or not. New asset settings. New asset settings require, yep, encoding tier. That's what we're talking about. And then input. Okay, we're not like actually using an input URL. We don't need master access. We're fine with whatever resolution tier. We don't need MP4s. Yeah, just scrolling through this, playback policy is what I was looking for. Scrolling through this is like a great way to learn what an API offers. I love diving into the TypeScript types.
It is wild thinking back to like a decade ago where this wasn't commonplace and you really just had to like look at the raw implementation of how this SDK would have been built. I feel like grandpa's shaking a fist at the clouds right now, but you kids have it made, honestly.
This is my favorite part, like this fantastic autocomplete right here. So Mux will not actually let you play back a video unless you give it a playback policy. So we need playback policy public. And I think this is everything we need to create an upload. And then what are we going to do? Let's just return the full upload.
And if you were to do a log in the loader, a console log, that would go, I'm guessing,
Oh,
right
great
into your
question.
terminal.
And look at this, type safety. It's already telling me I can't log data. Oh, unknown. That's a bummer. Oh. Okay. So this is of type upload. Does this know that it's type upload? No, it's still unknown. That's interesting. I wonder why Remix does that. Like I would expect to have like automatic type safety here. Use loader to
Yeah,
I see.
you give a generic.
Yeah, so it's not like inferring anything. I need to actually tell it that we are expecting a mux.video.uploads.upload. Mux.video.uploads.upload. Yeah. Oh, that's nice. It automatically like JSON serializes this for us. So JSONified object. Cool. Node built-in crypto must be polyfilled for the browser. What does that mean? Mux node resources. Okay, so I don't want Mux node to be shipped to the browser. I only want it on the server. I was kind of assuming that this would do what Next.js did. And if I only used the function in the loader, that it would only like run on the server. Do loaders run on the client?
I was just going to ask, maybe you check your console for the browser in the browser and see if we're actually getting a log.
Yeah, not getting anything here, not getting anything here. It looks like it's just kind of stopped the loader. Okay, so loaders are not server only, potentially. Route loader. Route files can export a loader function that provides data to the Data's loaded.
Yeah, I mean, that looks generally right.
Use loader data. Oh, interesting. Type that. Let me just do that for fun real quick. Handy later. Use loader data type. Oh, okay. So that's how they want you to get type safety. That was the problem we just ran into. I don't need route actions. server versus client code execution. Following route exports are removed from the client build. So loader is removed from the client build. So why are we getting an error? Oh, okay. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. We need to explicitly tell Remix that we are returning JSON. And I bet that, I mean, I don't completely understand why this is going to solve it, but I suspect, that it will. Where does JSON come from?
It looks like there's some import there.
And then let me just type of loader. All right. Still getting that complaint about crypto. Browser node built-in polyfill. Get user.
Yeah,
The
I'm
server
not
build will
really
contain the entire
clear.
module. The client build will remove the action headers loader along with the dependencies. So do I have to like import in there? Where's get user coming from? Get user from .user. So yeah. So here, this is server, import get user, and does that get removed? Yeah, it does. So this is, I mean, I would expect this to work. I don't know why we're getting this error. Curious indeed.
Yeah, I'm not sure in what situation we would be shipping any of the modules that come from the Mux node library straight to the client here.
What if it's because, oh, I have a great theory. It's probably because I didn't put this in action headers loader, this actual client instantiation right here. I wonder if what I'm supposed to do, I don't know where I'm allowed to put components, so I'm just going to guess right here. If what I'm supposed to do here, import that's only used, export default client. So now that it's an import rather than actually just declared up there, import client from Mux. Bugger. I really thought that would do it. I felt so clever. So here's something I noticed as we were like scrolling by. I noticed one last thing. Forcing code out of browser and server builds. Force it either client or server with star client or star server. So this probably isn't necessary, but I'm kind of curious to see what happens if. Yes. Thank you for asking. Could not resolve .mux. I wonder if I'm not allowed to put.
Do you have to do .mux
components here?
Server?
No, I think it's mux.server. Mux.server, yeah. I wonder if I'm not allowed to put components here in the routes folder.
From the import, did your import update?
Oh, yeah. Look at you asking good questions.
You know, sometimes you have to just ask the right questions. You can tell I've been watching some True Detective lately.
Oh my gosh. First season was incredible. I haven't watched anything since then. Well, I think we did something.
Still
kind of disappointed that we're not console logging here.
Yeah.
What happens if we console log data here? As if the loader isn't running. Huh. Okay. So on the one hand, oh, you know, hold on. Why does that still say hi? Right? It's almost as if this is an older version of the page. There we go. Data. Oh, I just didn't refresh the right page. This is a me problem. It's interesting that I have to like command R over here. I guess I don't completely understand how the hot module reload works here. Looks like we have a URL that we can upload to, a timeout, a status, new asset settings. Great.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if could it be like if something changes in the loader, then it doesn't propagate over to the hot reload? That's
yeah,
kind of a confusing one.
I agree. data dot, actually, let me just grab the, yeah, data dot URL. There we go. So now theoretically, Mux uploader should have a URL. There it is. Cool. So we fetch data on the server and we pass that data to the client. Good work.
I'm glad we got around that. I was starting to get a little sweaty over here.
Yeah, that was a little tense. So there's a lot to learn, but I'm sure there's some underlying consistency. This is made by some real smart folks. I give them a lot of slack.
So what we're looking at here, at least from the Mux side, is interesting too. The import being for Mux uploader and dropping in that component already just renders that entire drop zone, which is nice. Like handles all of the drag and drop or selecting the file from your system, and then getting that endpoint. We just have a couple lines of code through the Mux Node SDK to be able to generate that signed upload URL, which will then hand it off over to your account once that asset is completed uploading. So let's see what the I don't know, what's the next step here.
So when we actually finish uploading a video, then what's happened? Once you upload a video to Mux, Mux has the video, Mux will create an asset. So what we need to do next is we need to on upload complete, which I believe in Mux uploader is on success. We need to change upload ID for set ID. And this needs to happen on the server because we can't actually talk to Mux on the client. We don't want to pass any of these sensitive keys to the client. We can maybe do something fancy with JWTs and like authorize the user to do certain operations, but let's not get down the JWT rabbit hole. I actually don't know if we could. Let's see if we can send data back to the server. Which is where forms come in, right?
Yeah, and I vaguely remember, I'm going to double check here, but I vaguely remember the asset ID being available in the create direct upload response.
No.
Or maybe it's once it's actually completed is when you
Yeah,
get that.
it definitely
That might be
completed.
in the webhook.
Yeah, I actually just recently rewrote the with the Mux video example that we have on the Next.js repo and spent time building this exact thing except in Next.js. So this is kind of, you know, fresh knowledge for me. I'm kind of cheating a little bit in that regard.
All right. So on success, we'll get the upload ID. We'll send it over to Mux to understand what the related asset is that was created from that upload. And then we want to get information about the asset to be able to play it back in the application. So a couple different IDs here in place to exchange in order to get the video playing back on our next page.
I think what we'll want to do, like just to really stick to this remix example, is maybe maybe use a form to send the upload ID back to the server, and that's where we can do the exchange. So I think it looks like we've got a form component here, right? Method equals post. Input name equals upload ID. And then button type equals submit, disabled equals is upload. I'm going to store this in React state. So this is I'm guessing a client component. Like we don't have a concept of server components. So everything is on the client. I can use client hooks, use state. Set is upload complete. You following so far? Am I making sense?
I'm following. We're gonna do.
Cool.
We gotta wire that up into the on success handler and change that state to let us know when we're ready to go.
And then disabled not is upload complete. And then upload ID, we want this to be value equals data dot. So if I did that right, we should have a disabled button. get asset ID. And let's make this disabled too. No need to. Cool. And this button will become enabled once the upload is complete. Let me also trim this video. Let me get like a short video that we can upload real quickly. We've got
Another
the sequel to the greatest video of all time.
Yeah, I was gonna say not the greatest video of all, not only the greatest video of all time, but possibly the best output that Mux has ever had, according to this stream, and nobody else. Great output.
We're gonna call that short pour. We're gonna leave it on the desktop, and upload short pour. Uploads really quickly, and get asset IDs available. Excellent. That's exactly what we thought would happen. I also don't want to clutter up my environment with a whole bunch of assets. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say test is true. When you're in test mode, this will act just like as if you haven't put your credit card in Mux yet. Videos are deleted after 24 hours. So this will keep me from like really cluttering up my account and really using my storage usage. I'm going to do that real quick. Cool. Now, what are we doing when we submit this form? We want to exchange the upload ID for the asset ID. And to respond to forms based off this example, I love that I can do so much just based off this like one hero example.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like first impression of that, I feel like, even 20 minutes ago, I was looking at that and trying to make sense of it all. But when you actually apply it to a practical application, it's nice that it's all there. Yeah.
Yeah, it all just falls into place. Form equals, oh, what's the type on this? The docs. Forms. This is something we struggle with a little bit too. It's really difficult to give exactly what you're looking for in search. I don't know, plain HTML forms. No, it looks like there's a form component. I bet I can find that here. Here it is, components form. Action events, method post. And then what am I looking for? Yeah, I was looking for, I guess I should look for action. I was looking for what the type is here in TypeScript.
The export of action.
There we go. Action function args. Okay, now we have TypeScript, we have a request. Let's go back to the homepage example and keep working off of that. What we want here, this is just to remind ourselves what we're doing. Exchange upload ID for asset ID now that the upload is complete. Good. Form, it's going to have form data. And from that form data, we can just, oh, lowercase f. Thank you, TypeScript. TypeScript is so good. I think that's the real hero of today. Form.get upload ID. Okay, that's what I called it.
Nailed it.
Awesome. And then, once again, with Mux, asset equals client dot, what is it? Uploads video. Uploads dot retrieve upload ID, right? Retrieve upload ID. That's all it wants. Cool.
It's worth calling out here too that this is authenticated request. So because we're using our own access token, Mux access token ID and secret key here, this isn't a request you want to make in the browser. That would be leaking your credentials to the browser. So we only really want to be using this. I mean, maybe it's in the name, but Mux Node SDK on the server and not in the browser.
That's right. For protection, we said mux.server here. What this line right here is doing is it's reading my token from the environment. So this client has my token. It's got my secrets. We do not want to send those secrets to the client, which is why we're doing all of our Mux work either in loader or in action. Cool. So we have an asset, and what are we going to do with that asset? Also, how do I return data from a form?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, higher level, I guess, on the asset, because when we created that direct upload with the new asset settings, we set a playback policy of public, right? So that asset, when it's generated and that upload has been completed, will receive a playback ID that's associated with a public playback policy. So we'll get a separate token from anything we've seen so far that can then be used in constructing a playback URL for your video player, or probably in this case, we can just throw it right into Mux Player to be able to easily load that and play it back right here, maybe on the same page even.
While you were giving that explanation, I also realized my mistake. So when I say client.video.uploads retrieve, what I'm retrieving is the upload and not the asset. So what here, once again, back into the upload. And then from the upload, I can get the asset. Client.video.assets.retrieve. Also await that because these are asynchronous functions. Retrieve upload.asset ID. That's right. So if the upload's not complete, then this won't have an asset ID. So if upload.asset ID else console no asset ID. Really have better errors that like get thrown to the client and have like retry logic. Not for the live stream.
Not for the
you're
live stream. This is where we
so
play around, experiment. In an actual production application, you could do some kind of polling to check if the asset's ready to go. Better approach really is to set up a webhook handler. Mux will send you some information right when that asset is ready to be played back. And in that webhook handler, then you can say, all right, I know now this thing's ready to go. Let's let the client in on that info and get the playback.
This is one last thing that I kind of cheated on. If you don't create your asset with a playback policy, then it's not going to have a playback ID. I told TypeScript with this exclamation point, it's okay, bro. We have playback IDs. Oh, we have a playback ID here. And now the last thing I want to do here, what should we do with this playback ID? Do you want to send it back to the client?
So I was thinking if we can somehow get it back, did you find if you can respond from a, what are we calling that, an action?
No.
I wonder, yeah, if we could return from that somehow, or maybe there's a redirect in place, but that would be a new page.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd have to redirect. So I think what they're trying to demonstrate here is that if you want to get data, then what's like the loader is going to run again. So we need to like somehow get the asset ID in the loader. No, I think our redirects are best bet. Well, yeah, I don't know. Let's experiment. Let's see what navigation hook stuff gives me. See if turn playback ID. I have no idea what's going to happen. But we can figure it out with console.log.
I'm just peeking at their docs here too in the background, looking at
You cheater.
action.
How dare you look up information?
I know. I should probably just do it the way I always do it. Open the box and throw away the packaging.
So we got started here and we initially get navigation hook. So we have form action, form data, form method, JSON, location, state, text. So this is just a whole bunch of stuff related to the form. Let me remove these curly brackets. They're not really helping here. Great. Now what happens when we submit that form? Boop. Upload complete. And let's submit this form. Didn't return anything from your, you defined an action, but you didn't return anything from your action function. Please return a value or null. So I did return something from here, but I didn't in these two places. So I'm guessing one of my console warns went off. Bad upload ID. Okay, so it looks like I didn't get the data from the form correctly. So I'm going to console log my upload ID, and then I'm also going to console log form dot get all, maybe. Yeah. Or entries, if this is just form data. Okay.
I did see that there's a hook too called, do we see this one? Where'd it go? Use action data. Use action data.
I wonder how that's different from use navigation. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to look into that. Cool. Where's my console log?
Maybe we get another reload over there on the left.
Oh, you think? Bad upload ID. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Upload ID is null, and then form data is, well, an array iterator. So yeah, that was just a bad console log. So this is helpful. Uploading a video. Keep getting all those recent documents. I don't want that. Thank you. All right. Submitting my form again. Form data is empty. So for some reason, we're not getting... I gave it an upload ID. Maybe...
Name is upload ID. Form is post.
We need an ID, do we? Back to the homepage example. Form input name equals title. Yeah, all it has is a name. So why aren't we getting the upload ID data on our submit?
Do you want to double check that that value is set on that input when the page is loaded?
Yeah, I mean, I'd assume so, just because
I guess we're seeing it there.
Yeah. Submit method post. And did I do anything wrong here? Await request.form data. Form.get title. Well, hot dog. I really thought I did everything correct there. Back to the dreaded docs.
Null.
The docs are pretty good, actually. Am I just making forms incorrectly? Gripping content, folks. Maybe we're missing a parameter. Method equals post. URL submit. So
yeah, looking at these action docs, it looks pretty simple. Like the way that they advertise it is showing up as, I'm sure we're missing something here, but it looks pretty simple.
Yeah. It really makes me wonder if I just if I did this wrong, if I didn't pass the value properly. The very corners of my React brain tell me that maybe because I'm passing as value, then it becomes like a controlled input and the data is not being passed correctly to, I don't know. I'm really stabbing in the dark here.
Form, setting up the form, defining the action.
Same error. Form data is empty. I mean, it could also be that I'm iterating through form data incorrectly. It could be that it's not actually empty, that this doesn't actually get all.
But even that console log for the upload ID being null is kind of unexpected. What if you just console log the form itself? Would we see any information there?
I know one good way of finding out. Loading another 10-second video. This, folks, is why we're using test mode. Yeah, I mean, it's just a form data thing. Well, shoot, that's a little disappointing. I really thought we'd crack it. Well, here's something fun. Maybe I can always Command Z, but what if I literally copy pasted their example from the homepage, right? Get this project stuff, because obviously we don't have any projects. We don't have any like back end. All this stuff because we're not using it. Turn. Turn form data.get title. Just like that. Making some small changes to that example so we can see if just copy pasting the example from the homepage works the way we expect. Return title. Hey, title, create new project. And title, hey, title. So look, this works. What we did over in our other project didn't for some reason.
I'm just wondering do you have to, maybe we could have corrected the return missing. I don't know why that would have solved it, but I'm trying to think of like any other error that we were getting that might be standing in the way of this like compiling correctly. Like if we were to actually return from all of the different paths that we had within the action, maybe that would solve things. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, yes. On the other hand, like, my concern with that is.
Oh, wait. What is it? Because the input is disabled, would that be not submitting something?
Sure, let's give it a shot.
I'm really just throwing darts here. I don't know. We're late in the stream and we're not quite where we want to be.
This is what professional web development looks like.
It's true. It's true. The amount of time that you spend going back and forth on what ultimately is going to be something that we look at and we're like, oh, right. That.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to ditch the uploader so I don't have to keep uploading 10-second videos. Which means we don't need that. All we have is a really simple form that says test. Do we see test on the server? Yes, we do.
Okay. So
upload
if
ID gives
undo what you just did and put the Mux uploader back in there and let's see what happens here.
I'm going to do one more step. We're still creating uploads. So value equals data.id. Okay, we're getting that. Putting this back in. Boop. I don't know what we were missing.
I mean, the only thing we changed was disabled on the input. So if you add disabled to the input for ID, do we not
let's get to the bottom
it?
of this. Is that what this was? Why is the button enabled? That will probably hot module reload. There we go. Would you? There we go. Get asset ID. It's empty again. It is disabled. Because this is disabled, it's not.
That seems weird. As far as I know, disabled just essentially would mean that we cannot interact with it, but not necessarily that it doesn't actually submit along with the form. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I've ever actually encountered that.
This is the wonder, I think. This is the cool part about Remix. At least to me, through all these struggles, I have the sense that because they're so strict about use the platform, that this is just like revealing some underlying concept that you and I were missing about the platform. I suspect that if we really dug into MDN, we'd find that something with disabled inputs don't get submitted to inform data.
I guess we'll find out if we get eventually somebody in the comments and the YouTube
I
replay
guarantee
that's
you.
like shaking their, like screaming at their screen, like it's disabled.
Okay.
We'll learn.
So I used hidden instead of disabled. So now I bet you we're gonna get a playback ID. I bet you we're gonna get a playback ID. Give
Let's
this all a
find
big
out,
reload.
and then we'll probably wrapping this one up. But hopefully, we'll be in a good spot here that you'd be able to see how you can move forward.
Submitting, loading, and did we get the playback ID as like a response here? No, I'm guessing this is what the use form action, use action data. Oh. Right. Action hook stuff is undefined. We want to figure out how to get that asset ID to the client. Yep, here we go. Action hook stuff is now defined. Action hook stuff has a playback ID. Excellent. And we can use that to start polling to see if the asset is ready. And then once it's ready, we could redirect to the actual view page, which is awesome.
Whew. I feel like we're trying to get the speed run done there at the end. We're close, folks. We're close. And I am going to take the blame on the disabled being the problem with
But
not submitting. It was unexpected. I will say that.
So yeah, I mean, I think what I would do eventually is like redirect to the playback ID like that. And that would like redirect us to a view page. That's kind of the last step. Like after this, it's really not much work left, but we're out of time.
Yeah, it's not. It really with Mux Player, would just import it and drop the playback ID on the player, and you're ready to go. So even that's like, it's not the most thrilling live stream content, but it does show how easy you can go from really like upload to playback in Remix.run, how easy asterisk you can do that.
What do we think about Remix? Briefly in the -3 minutes we have left.
In the -3 minutes, interesting. I think that there's like we said kind of up front, there's a lot of similarities here, at least now in parity to what I'm familiar with seeing in Next 14. But the idea of using the platform underneath it all and not having to necessarily adhere to whatever the framework is making up as their own convention, even though I guess we have some of that here, but
Yeah, and then we still
underneath
have
it
these
all,
hooks that we need to learn, right?
yeah, yeah, it's an interesting concept, and it's something that we buy into. I know with really using raw web components in the development that we do here at Mux. But
We
yeah,
do
the
love the
the idea
platform.
that we like still have to do things like use action data, use navigation. There is a little bit more to, I think, using the framework here and not just the
Yeah, there's still a learning curve. But I'm guessing, the pitch about using the platform is that even if there is a learning curve, like maybe we actually were wrong about the disabled thing. Once we learn that knowledge will transfer to other frameworks that use the platform, like Svelte or quite literally the platform. And that's the argument that they would make, at least they do on Twitter. I think we're gonna have to play with this a little bit longer to get an idea of how we actually feel about Remix.
Yeah, I'm not gonna write it off just yet, but I'm not ready to write it on either. I had a lot of fun debugging with you, Tar, for approximately 25 to 30 minutes today. We got somewhere. We got somewhere, and I think we did learn. At least you and I learned something here. Hopefully, we shared something that saved somebody else some time too. What do you
Cool.
say?
I think we call it a day.
Let's call it a day. It's Friday. I had fun. Good talking with you, buddy. Until next time, thanks for joining the stream.